Hey, in this video, I'm answering the question, can vegetables cause bloating? And the answer is absolutely yes. Maybe you've experienced it, maybe somebody you know. They actually feel worse when they're trying to eat a healthy diet, eating a lot of salads and eating broccoli, bowls of broccoli, and they notice bloating, cramping, and pain in their gut. Well, absolutely, vegetables can cause bloating, and that's because you may have too much bacteria in your small intestine. You see, in your digestive system, your small intestine is the largest portion of your small intestine. That's the most important area for nutrient absorption. And then the large intestine comes after the small intestine, and that's where we should have the most amount of bacteria. But certain conditions can cause some of the bacteria from the large intestine to translocate up into the small intestine, and then they start to eat and ferment food before it really should be broken down by the bacteria, and they produce different gases. Also, you can have bacteria that come from your mouth that slip into your digestive system, and if you have low stomach acid levels, you don't kill them, and then therefore they get into the small intestine and they start to colonize the small intestine. So oftentimes when people have bacterial overgrowth or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth in their small intestine, it's because of oral bacteria that they're swallowing and low stomach acid levels, and that allows for the bacteria to colonize in the small intestine, and now they start to eat a lot of these fermentable fibers that we're consuming when we're consuming vegetables, and they eat them too early. They should be getting them when they're more fully metabolized and broken down in the large intestine. They're getting them earlier in the digestive tract in the small intestine, and they're starting to break them down and produce gases that can cause bloating, cramping, can actually drive up pain, histamine intolerance, skin rashes, headaches, brain fog, a whole lot of different unwanted health symptoms. And so let's talk about why this occurs. We talked about the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Well, there's something called FODMAPs that we find in a lot of these healthy foods. FODMAPs means fermentable oligo monosaccharides and polyols. So an oligosaccharide is basically a sugar molecule. It's a combination sugar molecule. It contains somewhere between 3 to roughly 10 or 12 different sugar compounds connected together. So when we think about oligosaccharides, we're going to find a lot of those in legumes, a lot of different vegetables. You know, things like with the inulin prebiotic fiber, for example, right? So inulin is, we find that in things like artichokes and celery and a lot of these foods that are marketed for being really, really good for the microbiome. Inulin is a prebiotic that helps feed bacteria. The problem is if you have too much bacteria in that small intestine, they're going to break down the inulin and produce gases that can cause a lot of unwanted health symptoms. And so you want to avoid or at least reduce your exposure to that if you're dealing with this. And so that's oligosaccharides. Disaccharides, which is the D in FODMAP, the disaccharide is 2 sugar molecules. That's going to be something like lactose that we find in milk, for example, right? Which is a combination of 2 sugar molecules. And then the monosaccharide is something like fructose, for example, or glucose that we may consume in our diet. Fructose, when people have fructose sensitivity, that's associated with this FODMAP, the monosaccharide. And then the P, the A is just for and then the P is for polyols, which have to do with sugar alcohols. Perhaps you consume something with xylitol or erythritol, and that causes gas and bloating for you. That's a sensitivity to the polyols. Some people react to all the different types of FODMAPs. Other people just react to maybe one of those groups. Maybe it's the oligosaccharides. Maybe it's one component of the oligosaccharides. For example, when they consume legumes and beans, they get very gassy and bloated. That's a certain component of the oligosaccharides, as opposed to maybe something with higher amounts of inulin, like we talked about the artichoke, or maybe they do well with lactose and fructose, but they don't do well with the oligosaccharides, or they don't do well with the sugar alcohols. So you kind of want to figure that out and see if you need to remove all of these for a period of time or not. And so that's kind of the first thing, is making sure that you are reducing FODMAP exposure. And then number 2 is supporting digestive enzymes. So if you have a good enough digestive enzyme production, your digestive enzymes are going to break down these different types of fibers and these FODMAPs into smaller molecules that you're going to be able to digest more effectively. So it's kind of a combination thing. Oftentimes people have low stomach acid, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, FODMAP sensitivity, and then also they have issues with digestive enzyme production, right? And oftentimes it's all of those things, or maybe a little bit more of one thing than the other. So that's key. Now, if you're noticing that these vegetables are causing bloating, what I recommend is a low FODMAP diet. So low FODMAP diet, you take out a lot of these FODMAP provoking foods, which really eliminates a lot of foods, particularly foods that you would think of as healthy, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cabbage and collard greens and cauliflower, right? You're taking those out. You're taking out some of the fruits. You're taking out beans. You're taking out blueberries and other types of fruit that are higher in fructose. And then you're following a low FODMAP diet. And this is actually where a lot of people do well on, for example, like a carnivore diet. Carnivore diet is extremely low FODMAP. It's basically 0 of these fermentable fibers. And for a lot of individuals, that allows their gut to heal and repair. Now, I don't think you necessarily need to go on a carnivore diet. You could just go on a lower FODMAP diet, really prioritizing good grass-fed organic animal products. And then the better low FODMAP fruits and vegetables are things like arugula. Arugula is really good because it's low FODMAP and also low oxalate as well. A lot of people have issues with FODMAPs, also may struggle with oxalates. So I love arugula. Green beans, a good one. Bell peppers, now that is in the nightshade category. And so some individuals, roughly about 25% of the population, struggle with nightshades. It increases pain when they consume peppers, potatoes, tomatoes, eggplant, things like that. They get more pain. But if that's not you, you feel good with bell peppers, they are a good low FODMAP choice. Carrots are a good one. Squashes, butternut squash, right, for example, would be a good one. Strawberries are low oxalate. They're low FODMAP, right? Raspberries are actually higher in oxalates, but they're also low FODMAP. Melons, lemons, and limes. These are all good foods that you can be consuming on the low FODMAP diet, along with really good quality animal products. You can do things like high polyphenol extra virgin olive oil or coconut oil for healthy fats, grass-fed butter for healthy fats, wild-caught fish, grass-fed animal products like I was talking about, and really focus on that and do that for roughly 2 to 6 weeks depending on how long you've been dealing with this issue. For most people, they can just do a low FODMAP diet for roughly 2 weeks and then start to slowly reintroduce higher FODMAP foods and find a tolerance point. For example, you might be able to do a half a cup of steamed broccoli and feel fine. But if you do a full cup, you get more gas and bloating and joint pain. That would be an example of understanding where your threshold is. Half a cup was great. You go beyond the half a cup, you start to have more symptoms. So then you know where your tolerance point is. And for some individuals, they have a lower threshold in general for these fermentable fibers. Other people can eat lots of salads. They can eat tons of salads. They can eat tons of high FODMAP vegetables, and they feel great. In fact, they feel better when they're consuming them because they have a much higher threshold. In fact, their body tends to really thrive on these. So everybody's unique and different, and you got to kind of figure out what's going to be best for you so you can personalize your diet. So the answer to the question, can vegetables cause bloating, is absolutely yes. And there are things that you can do about it to help reduce that and to help improve your body's ability to tolerate vegetables so you can get the powerful nutrients that they offer and the enjoyable experience that you may get when consuming fruits and vegetables that you enjoy. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you on a future video training.